Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the channel where we talk about everything around creating wealth through real estate. Today we're going to be talking about earning passive income through real estate, how it is that it works, what are the things that you can do, how you should actually go about it, even if you don't have so much money, you don't have a big budget, and if you've been following my channel, you would know that I am very big on advocating for especially co-investing. Now, today is not going to be too different from talking about co-investing. However, it is going to be a whole lot more of discussions. And I hope that if you are somebody who wants to get started in real estate and you don't have all of the money, you're looking for how it is that you can get started, how it is that you can actually start to earn passive income, then this will be an episode that you will totally enjoy. I particularly love the episode because it was actually an interview session where I was hosted by the Money Doctor Izzy, who is also a friend and a financial advocate, who's trying to also help people to make smarter choices with their money. And in this episode, we talked about everything starting from how my journey started, all into how it is that you actually start to make some choices around choosing the investments that it is that you go into, what are the things, small tips that help to make a big difference in how it is that you invest in.
I think to kick off, you just give us a bit about your journey. How did you get to be this very vicious go-getting real estate broker that's had all the success or the knowledge or the skills that she's had? Just give us some insights.
Okay, so hi everyone, my name is Lerato. I'm literally starting from I'm this person that has started from ground zero. I always used to think that I would just do business and business would pay me enough, and I would save, I would all of that, and I was like, yes, I'm going to become rich and all, but that wasn't exactly the case. And at some point in my journey, I then realized that I had to start investing, and stocks to me, they sounded very technical at that point in time. So remember, in the early 2000s, it was only our parents that were investing in stocks. People like us were not investing in stocks. So we're always looking for items to invest in. People were buying gold, people were buying this, people were buying that, So anyway, I came across real estate, and firsthand, I was hearing how people that were expecting to make money were losing their money. And I was like, why are you losing money? If you buy it, you should be able to keep it. People always want housing. So why are you losing money? Coming from my father had bought property, and what he did was he left the land for a number of years, and then he came back later and he built his home, his house on it. So that became like home for us. So I understood the security that comes with owning a home, and I also understood the part where you can actually leverage your home to then use it to get access to capital, and stuff like that. I've always been a business-minded person. So I would always look out for, how do I make money? How do I get cash? How do I what? What do I leverage? So that was a point in my journey. And then I came and I got introduced to real estate, and it's just been one step after the other. I've seen people buy real estate. I've seen people sell real estate and make money. But what has been quite rare to see people say, I bought this real estate and I am making money off of real estate. So it happens, but then it happens too minutely for people to make an impact, So if there are 1,000 people that you're talking to, probably one or two people are going to be in that sector. So that became the thing of, why aren't there more people able to do this? Why aren't we able to be proud of the fact that this is what we're doing? And I said, if there are no people that are doing it, then I want to help people be able to do that. And that's kind of where we are at now. And I'm just glad that I'm here.
Wow. Wow, well, thank you, first of all, for, noticing this problem, because it is a problem. Like, I'm alarmed by these numbers. If, like, within a pool of 1,000 people, you have that very little number making money from that, then that's definitely a problem, especially when we know what is possible with real estate. So, yeah, it's really great and commendable that you decided to tackle that. So, in your experience now, what would you say are the barriers that are actually preventing the average person, the regular person, from either, first of all, investing in real estate and also getting to yield for them? What are those main issues?
So the first one I would say is the barrier to entry, which is the cost. Real estate is capital intensive. I mean, you and I, if you even just listen to how much real estate is, that on its own first puts that shoulder. I said, no, I'm not here. I'm not going here. I can't reach it. So that is the first barrier, the cost. And considering the fact that very few people earn enough to be able to say, oh, I'm going to save, I'm going to live a life, and I'm going to do that. That obviously is the first barrier. The next barrier would be education, or literacy, as I like to call it, right? Literacy to what is it that you can do, how it is that you can do it, and what you need to start doing to be able to get there. So people say, oh, I'm going to buy property. So when people think real estate and how they've invested in real estate, they think once I have bought property, that I've invested in property. That is a very wrong notion, because you may not have invested in property when you buy property. Not every property that we acquire is an investment. So if people can learn that, so this is why I said it's the literacy, it's the education around it, right? So if people can start to understand those details and say, it's not every property that I am acquiring that is an investment. Some of them I'm just acquiring, then people would be able to say, okay, which ones am I expecting to make money for me? Which ones it is that I'm expecting are just going to keep appreciating in value? Because just like the title of this session says, it says passive income. Some of them you have to wait 10, 20, maybe 30 years and all of that before you actually get the money. You can't call that income. So yes, it has added to your net worth or your future income that you can earn, but it's not necessarily an income that you can say you're going to keep. And the tendency for somebody who has such an asset to go through so many hardships and not sell that property would be very low. So people would tend to buy such things and then they would sell them before they get to the point where they can actually make money for them or become a source of income for them. It's always going to be high. And reason why people will go and buy those cheap properties or those ones that they have to wait for so long is because that's where their budget allows them to get in. And so all of these are actually two of the reasons why I decided to create the Domino Society, and I'm sure that we will definitely get to that as we go.
Yeah, I hear you on the whole. It's not everything that you buy in terms of real estate that is an investment. Yes, it's your asset for sure, and it does have that whole resellable value and all. But in terms of actually yielding, not everything is an investment, and it has in our very, very, would I say, very spaced and fast-changing world. Like things can just flip so quickly that many people end up having their backs against the wall, and it's not like this thing that I can only touch, or this income that I can only touch like 15 years, 20 years.
Exactly, and you're thinking, no, I'm disposed and I need the cash.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
So just to chip in, it's also when you have such things, it's even not as easy to sell. Like I saw a tweet, I think yesterday, and somebody said, oh, that if all the people that sell real estate could tell the truth about how it's not so easy to sell land that you are buying, then maybe we would make better choices. I mean, and that tweet actually hits me because that is the truth. The truth of the matter is that there are a lot of these things that we buy, I mean, and all of that, lands and stuff like that, that when you do need the money, you will probably spend 6 months trying to sell that land unless you're going to be giving it away for almost free. So why are you even doing it? So that, you know, then people then say, oh no, I couldn't sell it at a good amount of money, so it didn't make money for me. And that's true. It wouldn't make money for you because you were now pressed against the wall and you needed cash. So you just let it go at a price that it will go for, you know? So, I mean, that's just to buttress the whole point of it's not everything that is an investment.
Yeah, that's why we have distress sales every time. It's wow, it's a crazy thing. Okay, so we are this in the act of getting the right information, being literate in these things. Can you tell us how exactly should we go about investing, like real estate investments? What are like the steps that we should go by? What is the framework you give? So for people who, I mean, maybe home, maybe they're within Nigeria, maybe they're abroad. Some people want to invest in real estate like within the country. Some people want to do it outside of their country. What are the guidelines that we should follow?
I always tell people who want to do this, I say, why are you investing? Why do you want to invest? And that is a very simple question that every time I ask it, people are like, what do you mean? What do you mean by why do I want to invest? I want to invest because I want real estate. It makes money, this, that. But then that's not the answer. The answer lies in what is it that you want to achieve with the real estate that you want to acquire. So if people go into investing in real estate with the mindset of it is business, then you will figure out all the right questions that you should ask. Nobody will start a business thinking, oh, customers will come by luck. You most times would have an idea where your customers are, and you will set up your business that it is accessible to those people. So why are you buying real estate without thinking of what it is that you're going to do with it? What is it that you could be targeting? So that's number one. Number two, understand what it is that you are buying. If you're buying land, understand how do you ensure that you are getting the rights to the land. How do you ensure that the person who is selling to you has the right to sell it to you? You know, so let's make it, I mean, a very simple example. Somebody goes to Computer Village, for example, I mean, or even just off the street or whatever, and you're buying a phone off of somebody. You know that this iPhone should normally cost you 400,000, but the person tells you, give me 40K and all of that. If you're smart, you will know that's not a deal. That's just using you. You know, so it's kind of like the same thing. The person has nothing to sell. That's why the person is selling it like that. Mm-hmm. By the time you look at the phone and then you probably scroll through it and then you're seeing funny names and all of that, tendencies are that was a stolen phone. And if the stolen phone is traced back to you, nobody's going to hear, oh, you bought a stolen phone, you've paid for it, it's now your own. No, they will take it and take it back to the owner. You'll probably sleep in a cell. You know, so the same thing, the same principles apply to when you're going to invest in real estate. Also. So number one, treat it like a business. Number two, understand what it is that you are buying or investing in. Number three, what do you want this real estate to do or to contribute to your life? If you can answer those three questions, chances are that you are on a better path to investing smarter and more successfully.
Wow. Yeah, because I mean, when we say like invest, no, that's a lot to like. I want you to sit like even in me, because when we talk about like investment generally, we want obviously money to come from it, but each real estate or each kind of real estate obviously serves its own purpose. So knowing, so based on what the objective is, it will inform what kind of real estate to go for. I mean, we really have to like be business minded when it comes to that. And wow, Okay. But yeah, I mean, we'll kind of go deeper into this because you kind of touched on something that we should definitely discuss, which is, the kind of hassle people run into in this whole real estate thing. I must admit, it's one of the things that see like afraid as to, we know these things are not cheap, and you end up getting a piece of real estate only for ownership to be contested, all kinds of things. It becomes this messy legal situation. Some people, I mean, their lives are even in harm's way. Like all those things are really crazy. But we'll get into that. We'll definitely get into that. Yeah. So these principles that you mentioned, though, they apply, or do they apply the same way for like where you're resident in and abroad, or do you think there's like some kind of maybe an addition or a tweak, something different from if for instance you don't have that proximity to what you acquire, you can't be like, it's no easy access, and a lot of things are based on what you don't like, or what you hear, or what somebody else is saying, a third party. Is there any like modification to those three things, or maybe an addition to what you've said?
So the modification would come in the implementation, right? So that's what I said. So it's just like, if you take those 3 points, right? I mean, those would now, what then happens under each one is what would vary. But those 3 points, globally, and I mean, essentially, I mean, those are the 3 points that matter. So under those 3 points, what comes under each one is what will then vary. For example, when you understand what it is that you want the real estate that you're buying or you're investing in to do for you, that's what will then guide you in terms of what real estate it is that you're buying, the terms that investment would actually use to yield, or the terms with which you would acquire it. So let's make an example of a Nigerian who wants to invest abroad. Now, people that tend to invest abroad, they do it because they say they want to earn in FX. Now, when you earn in FX, what do you want that FX to do for you? Do you want to spend that FX as FX, or are you just looking for a way to ensure that you are earning more than what your Naira or whatever would have given you? I mean, so those are like where the differences tend to come. Because if you then say that you want to earn in FX, and then you want to take that FX to use to come and pay for something in Nigeria or your livelihood in Nigeria, then you're making a very big mistake. Because by the time you are doing all of that cross-border and all of that, you will still lose money in the middle. There are taxes that you would pay for having to take that money out. So all of those things tend to happen. Now, for a Nigerian who says, I want to invest abroad, and they have a need for FX, then chances are that that person would be better off. Why? Because they don't need to move or change that money into any other currency. They're spending part of it there, and it would help to also build their own financial records in that location, so it gives liquidity. So you see how knowing your why you're investing, it changes little details, and the truth is that those little details are the biggest thing that make the difference.
I mean, you actually touched something. Also, having to invest, I mean, certain countries in the West, there are also tax advantages to real estate income and how you could operate. But so see, knowledge is power, people. We need to know all these things. These things go far deeper than like the surface.
Exactly.
Thank you. Okay, all right. So now getting into it, what are the good options out there? So let's say the intention really to invest in real estate is like for the long haul, want to really build wealth, right? And on the low or middle income earnings, what are the good options out there for us? What are the options?
So anybody who wants to build wealth and wants to start now, I would say invest in properties, invest in housing. Investing in land is buying yourself at least two layers of pain or 2 layers of stress. And with that stress will come time that you are waiting. So there's always going to be a wait period with land. Because when you're buying, so the best deals in land are those that you're not necessarily going to pay full price for. So they're either coming as a distress, or you're buying because they are developing. So you're still going to wait. So there's always going to be a wait period with land. Now, in that wait period, you are also playing a game of cards with how much it is that the value of the land becomes. So you can almost never say this land is going to become this. However, you can have an idea to say at least it will become in demand, and then you will then be able to put it to use. But if you say you're buying land because you're then going to say, oh, it's going to become one amount of money that you will then sell it for, you're playing game, you're playing cards, like you're playing, as your people say, you're playing tete, you know. So so that's that. So I would tell anybody who wants to build wealth, if you want to build wealth right now, it is apartments. Look for apartments. Look for every single type of apartments that you can buy. Please don't go and look for the luxurious ones. The luxurious ones have almost reached their cap. That's not how people make money. People that buy the luxurious ones, they have the money. They are locking their money. When you want to build wealth, you are buying apartments that, as they are handing you the keys, in 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks maximum, you have a tenant in that property. So there's a lot of mapping that has to then go behind what type of property, what can I afford? How would it work? How would it this? But that's just work that you either have to do yourself, or you have to get someone that is invested in your wealth journey to do that work for you and then keep you updated. Yeah. And a trick that I learned very early on in analyzing properties was, when you're buying apartments, always look for the ones that have the larger numbers. So people tend to say, oh no, I only want a block of 6 flats, I only want a block of 8 flats and all of that. Chances are that you're limiting yourself and your wealth, your wealth generation. Why? Because with 6 flats, even if you own one, what happens is that the word of mouth that would raise the value of that property is limited to just the 6 people times maybe 3 or 5 that will talk about the property. Which means that when people are talking about the property, it's a maximum of 30 people that can want to stay in that property. But when you are in a project that is maybe 22, 30, or it's a complex and all of that, you have the number of units times 8 in there. And then that increases the opportunity for it to stay completely tenanted. So how did I learn this? I learned this because somebody was trying to buy property and we were not within the choice of this or that. And then it became a question of how often do you get tenants? And how often you got tenants, the numbers changed when we were talking about the one that had the more number of units. And that ensured, that just tells you that the one with the larger number of units almost always has a waiting list, especially when they manage it properly. Because the person who is staying in one flat probably has 3 friends or 5 friends that have come to visit. And they've said, oh, I like this your place, so I want a place. When there's an opening, let me know, and stuff like that. But the place that there are 6 or 8 people, remember, people who stay in those kind of places are already reserved because they don't necessarily want people coming to visit them. If you say you're coming to visit them, they'll tell you, wait, let's meet here. They're already reserved. They're already controlled. They're already looking for, they have security, that the security has phone at the gates. So they will call before you enter. So chances are that if they don't want to see you, you will not enter. So you see how the dynamics have changed already. So these are some of the details that we don't talk about. And I mean, unless you're my client and I'm explaining why I'm choosing a certain thing for you, I mean, this is not necessarily something that we'll talk about that way, because people don't understand it. Not everybody wants to build wealth. Some people just want to be rich. So it's not a thing. It's not a thing that will come out and be saying, "Oh, this." If you didn't ask me categorically, how do I build wealth? This is not an answer that I would have given, and stuff like that. So those are just how you are able to choose or find, what type of opportunities it is that you will go for. Another thing would be, for someone who wants to build wealth, would be, at what price is it that the properties that you are considering buying are already in the market? Typical example, on the island right now, 2-bedroom flats are on the average of 70 million. So now this is me talking about from like Ikate down to like Ologolo, thereabout, right? So I'm talking 2-bedroom flats are in the range of 60, 65, 70 million, thereabout. If you're buying at that price, what you have done is that you have bought at an upper limit, which means that if you intend to resell, or when you're going to put it up for rent, you would always be working at that upper limit plus a margin on top. But if you bought that same flat at, say, 45 million or 50 million, you already have a margin. You have what we call equity. It means that when you are thinking of what it is that you would put as your rent in a time that is not so good, you have a margin to play with. Yes, I mean, so that's another thing that you could use to assess or analyze opportunities that you think exist.
Wow. I mean, Ivy says interesting. This is deep, and I agree. Like, this is actually like really deep. First of all, I mean, you highlighted on the more the apartment capacity and the number of units, the better. I can see, word of mouth advertising like strongly in play there, and it makes a lot of sense. I never really thought about it that way, which is a good one. And then obviously, if you can get, especially like in an area where you can acquire the property at a less than upper limit price, it definitely gives you like, to get good deals is definitely important. Okay, so now, I mean, all these things, you mentioned the million, 50, 60, 70. Yeah, some of us, we don't have that cash just like there, we don't have, or we don't have the opportunity to have these like payment plans where it's just done within 6 months or within a year and all. So how can we go about it? Let's say we're interested in, like you mentioned, the apartment or many units, we want to get a piece of that pie. What do you recommend? How do we go about it?
Collaboration. Collaboration is the collaboration. I mean, we hear that, to succeed in business, collaboration is key. To get ahead, collaboration is key. In real estate, collaboration is key. How you go into your collaborative deal is then what you would then be asking, okay, I want to collaborate with people. How do I do it, right? Now, it's the strategy that basically explains or leverages this whole collaboration idea is called co-investing. And I'll explain it from the perspective of a client of mine that came together with 4 friends, and they decided that they wanted to start owning properties. Now, what they started to do was that for 8 months before when they started, they had all started to save money together. So they took that money that they saved and then they used it to buy a property. Now, when they bought the property, each person knew what percentage that they had contributed to the cost of the property. So that became the percentage that each of them owned in the property. Now, they had an agreement and they put the property up for rent. And when the rent comes, that's the same percentage that they used to take the money. They choose to share the rent when it comes, and each of them gets their own payment. Now, we know that not everybody can find or have friends like that all the time, right? Which is why I have then formalized co-investing through the Domino Society, which means that I have created the platform that allows for co-investing to happen, so that if you say, oh, you want to invest in property because you want to earn income, I have projects that I have then divided their value into little bits, 1%, as that's the basic split that we've done. It's 1%, and we've said that so you can now come and invest in multiples of that 1%. So let me break it down numbers wise so that it helps. It helps to make sense. An apartment is 60 million. When I'm taking that apartment for 60 million, I am saying that I am going to rent the apartment out for whichever method I'm going to rent it out for. So I need to either furnish it or I don't need to furnish it. So you see where the decisions start to come in. So I get the apartment, I decide on how I'm going to put it to work. I figure that cost for which I'm going to use to put it to work, and then I divide that total cost by 100. That's what goes into my co-investment platform. When that goes into the co-investment platform, you can come and say, I want 1%, I want 2%, depending on how much it is that you have. And then when you take that, that is the same percentage when the property starts to collect income, rental income, that's the same percentage after expenses that we will now pay you back your own dividend. So remember, the property becomes a business. The property pays for itself in terms of its operations and its whatever. I'm not looking for money elsewhere. I'm not asking you and I'm saying, oh, come and give us money. We need to get money to do this, pay the security, pay the whatever. No, the property would have to pay for itself. And then after we've paid for expenses, everybody who is a co-investor, which is a co-landlord or a co-owner, then gets their own split into it. So that's the way that right now is safest for people that want to, that don't have so much money to actually go into it. There's another way that people do it, and what they do is that they then go and invest in projects that a developer is doing. So for example, a developer can say, I'm building this project of XYZ number of units and all of that. Come and invest with us and we will pay you at the end of this period, we will pay you this percentage and all of that. Now that works. For somebody who doesn't want to stay long term, that means that you're just turning your money around. That works. But my challenge with that, especially if the person says they want to build wealth, is that you're not going to be building wealth with that money, because you will only be paid once and then you will move on. Chances are that you will spend the profits that was there. Your capital is what you'll be looking at and then you put back. However, if you co-invest, that means that you own a part of that property. So you earn part of the rent, you earn part of the value appreciation on the property. Now remember, that property that we bought at, say, 70 million total package plus furnishing and all of that will not remain 70 million. At some point, it will become 80, become 90, it will become what? Your value appreciation as you have invested will keep growing. So also we can think about, for people who say, okay, but is it like shares? Yes, it's like shares. You invest in shares today, the value of your shares will go up because the business is doing well. That's what happens with real estate. Now in shares, chances are there are situations where the value may go down and whatever and all of that. But in real estate, chances are that the value would keep going up. Worst case that will happen is it will plateau at a certain point. And what that then means is that it plateaus at that point, but you keep earning rent because people will keep wanting to stay there. People always need accommodation. Whether we like it or not, accommodation is one thing that people will always try to have. Whether they will live in it by themselves, whether there will be 4 of them that live there, or whatever it is, people will rent homes. So if you're looking to build wealth, homes, flats most especially, 1, 2, 3 bedrooms sometimes.
Okay, just like the side thought on that, we'll still come back to this apartment actually. But I know you're emphasizing homes, and like you said, obviously people always need where to live. But you also have like co-investment options where people are like investing in like business spaces. So like as complexes just for people to also rent for their businesses. Like you have those kind of setups, or it's just for homes. And I'm now talking specifically about the Domino Society, or are there co-investment platforms who offer that, if that's how people want to go, apart from just homes?
So there are definitely platforms that will do the whole commercial spaces. So we call them commercial spaces. Yeah. There are platforms that do the commercial spaces. For example, if you remember a few months ago, Purple was putting out their IPO to say people should come and invest. Most of it was for commercial space. So I mean, those things like that exist, right? For us in Domino Society, we haven't added on commercial spaces yet. Reason being that homes has a higher interest. I mean, there's a higher demand for housing at different levels. So we haven't added that in. One project that we are considering is student accommodation, which is kind of commercial because, I mean, it's not exactly a home as the case may be. So yes, there is a student accommodation project somewhere in the works and all of that, but we haven't taken on a fully commercial project yet.
Okay. Oh, well, that's brilliant. Student accommodation is brilliant. Like that one, like for sure. Students and graduates, they will always, yes. It will always be, yeah.
Exactly.
Fully updated. Okay, that's a good one. That's an interesting one. Okay, now people's fears, people's concerns, including myself, when it comes to like the investing, either with like strangers in the community or even like with friends, is how things can, let me even try and split it. So when it comes to investing with a community, like basically like crowdfunding kind of situation, right? What are the safeguards and things that basically protect your money? So I mean, is the whole thing insured? What are the kind of things that make sure capital preservation is like at the forefront of everything? Yes, we want money, we want to the investment to yield, but we also don't want to lose the money, right? So that's like, on one hand, what are the things that you guys in the Domino Society have put to make sure that yes, people are not going to be scared that losing their money and things are going to go south? That's one way. On the other hand, like the example of your client and his 4 friends who together, I know there are people that come together and do that, but we know how, I mean, with people in and changing their minds and things in life happening, we know how these kind of business things have wrecked relationships and friendships have gone sour and all kinds of drama has come around that. So what are the things that one can do in that situation to make sure things don't go south, so that at least we can really embrace or get to enjoy the positives for collaboration like this?
So for the friends that would like to come together to do this, I would say have 2 people, a property broker and a lawyer. Do not do it with friends without those 2 people. Don't try it. It will be premium tiers, somewhere along the line or whatever. And peace of mind. I tell people, I say the first thing that every investor needs to be able to have is peace of mind. If you don't have peace of mind, you're going to keep being jittery. You will keep looking for the next shiny thing that is always going to come. So you need peace of mind. So I try to ensure that around everything that it is that I'm offering people or I'm suggesting, peace of mind is very critical. So peace of mind, you need peace of mind. So if you're going to do it with your friends, make sure you have those 2 people included in the deal. That's on that side. Now, on the side of the Domino Society, there are a few things that somebody who is investing should look out for. One would be the person who is putting it forward. Does that person understand real estate and the business of real estate enough to be able to navigate it? That's number one. Because if that person doesn't have that knowledge to be able to work through it, because see, on the outside, we can make it look simple, but on the inside, the headaches, the headaches keep coming like this. Sometimes I feel like, who sends me a message and all of that? But you see, I'm in it because I want to also create wealth for myself. and I know that right now this is just where we're at. So I keep leveraging on my network, my knowledge, my experience, my everything to be able to make it work. I mean, I can literally say that that is one of the biggest things that you have to look out for. Second would be the business viability for where the project is. Does that location make sense? Don't go and co-invest just because they say, oh, give me this money, I'll give you this money, you'll be earning money and all of that. Look at it, ask the questions. How do you intend to make money? How is the property going to work? What kind of people want to stay in this area? How are you going to keep getting these people to always come and rent the property? Those are questions that you must ask. If the person that is promoting it is uncomfortable answering those questions, please walk away. That person is not ready. Walk away. Just tell the person, oh, okay, no problem. Or when you are ready to tell me, and just go. There's no fight. Just walk away if the person is not ready to tell you. Because chances are that that person has not thought through all of those things. Now, I'm not saying that everybody will be perfect or everything will be perfect. But just like you said, it's your money. Your money times 20 people. It's not going to be small money that this person is sitting on and is doing kalu or is doing I'm not sure, or I'm guessing, or I'm what, and all of that. No. So you want to be able to say, oh yes, this person is a trusted person, this person understands it. Even in answering those questions, you will start to either say, okay, yes, this person you either start to feel your own sense of comfort. Okay, I think I'm happy where I'm at. And then another thing that I have, and this is something I have also personally learned, in this whole journey of doing this co-investing thing and all of that. Co-investing does not work when you don't build a community. Because people must be able to talk to people. If not, people will go and talk to somebody else outside that will fester something that is just not correct. And then assumptions, presumptions, and all of that will come in, and you will have extra headache. People have to be able to talk to themselves. So personally, I was dragging my feet on bringing all my co-investors together and all of that. But see, in the next 2-3 weeks, I'm going to make sure all of them are in one place. I tell them, I say, any question you have, drop it in the community. Ask here before you go and ask outside. So that is the thing. So once you start to see things like that, you start to see that you are being carried along. You start to see that the person is able to answer your questions. You see that the person is even interested in educating you on why they're making certain decisions. Then at least you can be comfortable to a very high level to say, yes, your money is actually safe. Now, this question of, is the property insured, always comes up. And when people ask me that question, the wicked part of me laughs inside, because that is something that does not apply. Because first things first, you cannot insure something that is not standing. The property has to be standing for you to be able to insure it. What the assurance that you can get is that the property will be completed. And that goes in, that is something that then happens between the person who is promoting it and the developer. Because if the property is not completed and handed over, then chances are that your money is stuck somewhere and it's just sitting there. You don't get your money. You don't get your money. You don't get your profit. You don't get your dividends, and all of that. So that is the question that you should be asking. So you ask the person who is promoting and say, how well do you know this developer? What other projects has this developer done? What's the person's track record? Has the person built properties that are still standing that you can see, or that are available for you to also inspect? Those are the kind of questions that you want to see, because you want to be able to see that this person has a track record that is consistent and is continuous. So those are, I think, the three questions, the three ways that you can actually, get some level of assurance. And then yes, last time, this thing is that you would know that you are going to also get a co-investors agreement contract that would say, what your stake is, and all of that. Your documentation. What is it that you get that confirms that you've actually put money into this project? What do you get? So when you pay money, do you get proof of payment? Do you get an acknowledgement that says, yes, we've received your money and this is what you have invested in? Do you get all of that? Those are things that you could definitely be looking for. And that's another reason why I built the platform, where the platform even has a dashboard. So it's like a platform that you go in, you have a dashboard, you see the properties that you've invested in, you see the properties, how they're appreciating, how they're making you money and stuff like that. So you're able to get that. Once you have those kind of things, at least you know that, yes, this person has thought through all of this and the person doesn't intend to run away in a short period of time.
Interesting. Okay. I know there are questions waiting for us, but let me just kind of go to two other things. Okay, you've mentioned this in a way, but just to add more flesh to it, if there's another dimension you want to add to it. So how do we ensure that, and this ties into like investment, real estate investment generally, what are the measures that we can use to ensure that we're actually getting the property like legally, legitimately, like and what we're paying for, instead of to reduce all these headaches with somebody else laying claim to it and all of that. What are the checks that we need to go through?
So that entire process is called your due diligence, right? And due diligence can be easy, can be straightforward, and at the same time it can be the biggest pain of all time, right? So due diligence actually starts from the first time that you go and see the property. So you go and you see the property, you're looking around, what's around. If it's an estate, then, you're now looking, okay, which company, what has the company done? What is the company offering? What are the terms on which the company is giving it to you? There's this thing that a lot of people are very wary of, and they say that they were scammed when they were buying the property, whereas it was a clause in the contract that said that they didn't necessarily own the property outright. It's some kind of a sublease type of thing and all of that. Yeah, so there are people that have bought property on that with that clause hidden somewhere inside, which is why I always say, always have a lawyer. So having a lawyer would always help to make your due diligence at least go smoother. And please listen to your lawyer or your broker and all of that. Agents, you can tend to be, agents, you just want to sell and stuff like that. But please, your lawyer, as long as you can choose a good lawyer and you trust your lawyer, please listen to your lawyer. So the next part of due diligence would be going to go and verify the title. Verifying the title, would include the fact that you would go and check at the lands registry to ensure that that title is what they say it is. If it is a land where you are buying by yourself, not necessarily in an estate, please ensure that you also get a surveyor to go from the Surveyor General's office to go and help you chart the coordinates of the land, because we've seen instances where people have said, this is the land that you are buying, but by the time you are seeing it, you are seeing a land, but when they give you the coordinates of the land that you are supposedly buying, it is somewhere else. So it is not where you thought it was. It is somewhere else, and then that's what they sold to you, and that's what will be logged in your contract and all of that. So that one, your bot will holla. The next thing that I would always say would be to check the previous ownership. So these are just some of the things that you must do as part of your due diligence. If anybody wants to get more detailed, different scenarios of how and what due diligence is and what it entails and all of that, I have a whole video series on YouTube that I've actually, a playlist that is marked due diligence that you can go and watch. It basically takes it from different scenarios and stuff like that. People can do that. Maybe after this session, I'll share the playlist with you so that you can share it to your community. I hope you have an email list.
Wow. Wow, wow. Okay, that's yeah, that's the surveyor part. I never knew about that one. This is, I mean,
Oh,
really
wow.
good information. And thank you for that resource. Yes, please. We do need that series. Very important. Okay, and then last least thing, still in form of like troubles and hassles. Like we know, at least for us, Nigeria, Lagos, a place like Lagos especially, we know the kind of issues people have had with the area boys, the Omoniles, and all these people that just give you hassle. Like you feel like, oh, you've gone through all the hurdles, acquired this land, and then just doing what you need to do with land becomes an issue. It's just, oh, people harassing you, pay this, pay that, all of that. Like, what's your advice as to how to at least mitigate those kind of issues as much as possible?
So, unfortunately, if you're buying land in especially the developing areas of Lagos State, where there is more undeveloped land than developed land, unfortunately, it is something that almost every person who wants to develop that land will encounter. And it's a very unfortunate thing. But the idea behind how you protect yourself from it would be in ensuring that you have either the cooperation of the developer or somebody who knows the area. And I say this because even though developers have bought land in areas where, quote and unquote, they're theirs, culturally, and because of how we are as a people, there's always this thing that before they take it away from us, they must pay something. So they will come and they'll tell you that if you're going to do this, you have to at least pay something for the boys. They call it owole. Some people call it, when you get to a certain level, they'll tell you that pay us for the roofing or something like that. They have different names, and all of those things are just the same way that they say settle us. So those kind of things, unfortunately, may still happen when you're buying in undeveloped areas. However, in some areas these things don't happen, and in some areas the developers have taken care of those issues in such a way that they've settled the boys, or they've settled the traditional ruler, and they say, we don't want your boys to come and be disturbing us. So it just depends on who it is that you're buying from, where it is that that the property is, and those are just your chances. So it's a half and half type of chance thing that could come up. Yeah.
Wow.
But in instances where you are buying land, and you're not too sure of where your land is and all of that, those boys will chop you well. Why? Because they will just rope you into all kinds of things. So yeah, so that's why I say always make sure that you do the due diligence part properly, and then once you've been allocated. So what I tell my clients, especially those that don't buy from estates, I say if you're buying just in a community, once you've gotten your land, try as much as possible, fence it or put markers on the land so that at least you now don't have people encroaching. Because people that keep going there all the time, they can tend to start encroaching. You just find that somebody else has gone to go and start erecting fence some feet into your own land, and then you will now come, and when you're measuring, they're telling you your land is not complete. You now start shouting and crying. And yeah, so those are just some of the things. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. This has been very, 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 very valuable, guys. You can see, she's on top of her game. This is all the knowledge that we need, and there's so much more. On her platform, she does a great job of educating. So yeah, make sure you're following the pages, do right, and share the information with the people. Check out her YouTube channel. Check out her resources. There's a lot there. Okay, so we're approaching the hour mark now. So there are a few questions that people have dropped in. Let's start with Timmy's questions. So she's asking, do you do Airbnb as well?
Yes, I do, and I manage those properties. I manage properties for clients under that, because for me it's a case of I want to help you create wealth. I want to help you make money from your property. So yes, I do also manage properties on Airbnb and short-let basis. To be honest, I'm even building a separate platform that would help to manage all of that. So yes.
That's great. That's lovely. I was actually going to ask about Airbnb, so it's good that she has mentioned. Okay. Another question is how frequently are the dividends paid from your co-investment platform?
So right now we benchmark at quarterly, but I mean there's a tendency that certain projects would pay monthly. So the thing is, once you're investing in a project, the project will tell you what their own terms are. So if you're investing in project A and project A says that they'll pay every 3 months or every 6 months, I mean, then you will know when you're investing. And if it is every month, you would also know. And the reason for that is how the property is going to be used. So if the property, for example, is on a monthly rental lease or monthly rental, right, then chances that we can actually pay you every month. But we may not pay every month because maybe how we collect money is not happening every month, right? So they're just those kind of options. But when you're investing in any particular property, you would see its own terms. This property would pay monthly, this property would pay quarterly, this one will pay annually, this one will pay upfront. I mean, terms would all be listed there. You'd also see what your estimated dividends would be per annum, and then you can prorate that per month and on stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay, good. We get to know all of that upfront. Okay. The last question from Tammy is how frequently are properties available to invest in?
Okay, so for the Domino Society, what we're the next half of the year, we're going to ramp up property options. So think about it like a Niger Property Center where you go on there and you just search for different properties that exist and stuff like that. That's kind of like what we want to get to in terms of this. There may not be as many as those because again, we'll not want to just totally blow it out of proportion where we can't ensure that certain projects are closing before we put on too many of them. But yes, there will be those kind of things. We're also going to be having a what we call a closed deal room, which means that some people, a certain caliber of people can say, oh, I don't want to just invest on what is available on the platform. I want to be able to ask for custom deals. So you ask for custom deals, we vet the deals, and then we make them available for people that have expressed interest or people that we've profiled to say, oh, that yes, these are type of deals that you should be doing, because that's also something that I'm doing for people. So I sit down with you and I help you analyze, okay, what are your goals? What is your wealth plan? What do you want to do what do you want to achieve with your investment journey and stuff like that? And then so I have their information profiled, and then we now can offer them those closed deals. So yes, that's something that can happen. So in terms of how frequently, there would almost always be at least a deal 2 or 3 on the platform for now. That's what I can guarantee.
Nice. So right now, we should go to the platform. We'll just see the one that is available, and we can just grab like people who are like game ready immediately after this live. They go there, they see what they want. Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, so I'll send you the link. So what I'm going to do is that for the things that I want to send you, I'll send them to you all together, and then you can just share them out in your community. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so Ivy has 2 questions. She says, for the collaborations, is there a way to increase the percentage you have on the property? So I'm guessing, so for these co-investment deals, is there a way, let's say you buy like a unit or 2, is there a way to now increase the percentage you have on the property?
Yes, there is. As long as the property is not sold out, yes, there is. So so this is June. If in June you have money just for 1 unit, you buy 1 unit in June. In July, the property is still open. You have money for another 1 or 2 units. You can come back and buy that same 1 or 2 units. So as long as the property is not sold out, then yes, that opportunity exists.
Okay. Perfect. She says, for those who are investing in the collaboration with others, is it for a project being built or for a block of flats already built? So is it like off plan or they're already existing?
So they would almost always be for off plans, and The reason for that is so that we can get the best price to get in. So let me put it like this. At off plan, you can probably buy the same unit that you would buy at 60 million, you can buy it at 48 million, at off plan. So if you're buying at 60 million, it means that you've cheated yourself out of that whole equity. You're reducing how much it is that you're able to earn. So typically, so let me just make an example of the property that is currently open, and I just sent out investor reports yesterday. We did the analysis of how much it is that the value of the property has increased between February this year and June. That's this June that we are in. And the value of that property has increased by 12%. So imagine if we were not invested at that time and we were trying to get in now, we would have lost a 12% equity that could have been spread onto you, like a co-investor, into that project, and then you'd not be making as much money.
Okay. So this is kind of like an adjacent question based on this off-plan. We know, especially now, for reasons that you have said, there are a lot of these like off-plan deals and stuff, and people are a bit wary. It's kind of like maybe you're just someone, an aspiring tenant, you're going to like see homes that you want to like rent out, and then you can see that, okay, this is a new place, but then it's unfinished. So it's like it's completed, and then there are all these issues of, hey, this landlord is basically wanting to get my money to be able to like finish his house, and then sometimes people have issues and all of that. What are the drawbacks with like off plans, or what are the things that we should look out for that will make us convinced that, okay, this is actually a good deal as opposed to it's going to end up being a money sucker for me?
So the simplest way to analyze that would always lie on the integrity of the developer, who the developer is. Does the developer have a reputation for dragging on their properties? There's some developers that I would never work with, I'll never touch, not because they don't build nice houses, but just because their timeline is never their timeline, if you understand what I mean. So there's some developers like that. So if you want to work on an off-plan basis for a developer, especially as an investor, that's not a good developer to work with, because your money will just get tied down for an extended period of time, and you lose the value based on that. So the integrity of the developer would always be one. Secondly would be their building plan, their building progress, their stuff like that. Next would be, what are their terms? Some developers even give people who are buying with them, and they say there's a clause for if they don't complete, right? So for example, a property is, say, 50 million, and the rent on that property is 2.5 million, just as an example. They will tell you, they'll say, pay everything of that 50 million over this period of time, but hold that 2.5 million, which is your rent for a year on that property, right? So if we do not complete the property in the time that we gave you, plus the little buffer that they would put and all of that, you take that 2.5 million. That's a good deal. Why? Because you've gotten some security, some kind of a bond that holds that developer accountable to making sure that they complete that the property. So there's that. There are also the developers that say, pay your entire amount, but if we don't complete the project, then we will keep paying you X amount of money, which would always be calculated against what that property would rent for in the market, So they'll keep paying you that amount of money, and then you always just ensure that it is written contractually and you can hold on to it. Yeah. But these things are never 200% guaranteed, One thing or the other can happen. There's always going to have to be that space for consideration, negotiation, and all of that, because it's a contract, it's business. And stuff like that. Life happens, and stuff like that. So you just take each case as it comes.
Wow. Thank you so much. This has been loaded. Like you've opened my eyes, and I'm sure many people's eyes into a lot of things. We know what's possible, things to look out for. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. First of all, for your active participation, everyone. Thank you for the questions, the comments, everything. Please show some love, like in the chat. Drop some hearts, drop some fire for Lorato. She has given us a whole lot of value. These are the kind of things where you actually have to consult people. You have to consult with people that like pay good money to get all this info, and she's giving it for free, and also get us towards her platform's YouTube channel where we can learn a whole lot more. So we're really grateful. Thank you so much. Like she said, for us who want this real estate, I want to be able to earn money, make a good investment. Yes, you guys can rush to the Real Estate Dominoes IT form. Larissa, if you can just type it into the chat, like your website, like where people can go immediately to go check out what is available there. Be great. Make sure you guys are following pages, the Nigerian Realtor. Make sure you follow Money Doctor Izzy page as well. It's been a really good session. Thank you so much.
So if you're coming across this video, please share it with someone that you know needs to be able to watch it, needs to be able to learn how to invest in real estate, even though they are not earning so much money, so that they can actually learn and get started. So my name is Arasili Kenokur. I'm a real estate broker and advocate for real estate investing. I hope that you are able to gain as much knowledge as you need, and you have fun watching this episode as much as I had fun being interviewed for it. Stay tuned.